Okay, so that was a little introduction in the previous video. This one might go for a bit longer. So I've pointed out this elitist, got a double nature. Now I've done videos on the double nature of HORUS, and I've shown how the major pharaohs often depict even the middle class as having a confused or crossed, miscombobulated gene, and we see even in Samaria and Sumerian depictions, we see like the elite, the controlling the dominant kind of force, having a double nature. So just in case you didn't catch the last video, I pointed out we have an elite, I don't know if he's on a chariot or what, aiming his arrow, so we see the face. That's not the best. Point, I don't really have one, that's no good. So yeah, anyway, you can see the direction he's facing there, yet probably do need a pointer actually, some variety. It really sucks that there's not one around. Okay, so, wow, that's really terrible. So yeah, we see the moustache here and the eye facing in this direction, have the and a dance pose, the battle, the dance, whatever. And we're talking about perspective. We also have a top perspective of a triangular solid three-dimensional object in green, that greenish thing there. So in other words, it's a pyramid under the armpit in that angle, that right angle. So we're looking at the arms and we're looking at the arches. We see a shadowy figure, which is a human shape, molded into the scenery, and we see its arms being arches as well as the halo, and a theme of arches or doorways all through. And the same being here, you see with the same textures in the art. On his back seems to be hidden fruit, as we see depicted in the flora of the scenery. Okay. Thank you, Getty Images. So let's look at some other. We'll go to another panel. So I'm looking at box from the tomb of Tutankhamun. Okay, so it's strange how, okay, we got the arches, we've also got a separated scene within the rectangular space segmented here. So these dividing things between, there is similar in cartouches, the hieroglyphs used. So we see animals here, two different varieties. Being affectionate, and that's relatively hidden, like you wouldn't really see it unless you got close. It's quite busy. And then over here we see a strange animal who's also embedded into the not just the picture but the landscape. If we can take a look at the pyramidal shape which lines up here to this marker, goes across there, and we see well, it's a pool of some substance, and you can relate that to the lake under the pyramid, or you could relate it to a volcano. We see the lava tunnels, major hot magma. So we're looking at harnessing and energy disbursements to do with the earth and the pyramid, like natural and man-made. The symmetry of it shows its perfect symbiotic nature despite its technological construction. So if you look even closer, there is an animal here, and it's not just part of the nice pretty patterns, it doesn't come up on camera. There's also an animal here, that's its tail. It's strange, possibly sphinx-like, which one, something an earlier form of the sphinx. Anubis-like head, very pointy ears, and the snout, which could relate to the original sphinx being a dog and jackal, Anubis or whatever. So we're looking at two scenes. Now it goes like, you're reading this, okay, it's all very well and good. It does have deep meanings, like we're looking at the facing of directions in the other panel. So in the first panel, there was one, you look at him, he's facing this way, you look at him another way, it's another completely head. We got the moustache and he's facing that way. One's in a fighting position, one's in a dancing position. One seems to be mostly Egyptian in culture and nature, one seems to be Indian. So we know their cultures were close. They had, despite the cultural difference, the core elements were the same. And it's just like I was showing in other videos, the double, like this is from Egypt. This is like the slave mode. You got the double heads and you can see slightly a double around the limbs, and that relates not just to the energy body being separate from its consciousness, but a split nature. That one's not the best one to show. Didn't I get a picture of? I'll have to maybe dig that out another time. But so in some areas where you'll see another head behind here. So you got two different elites here, and pretty sure this is like some Babylonian trip. And they got their flyers. See, when you're talking about allies. Okay, this is why I actually do read Carlos Castaneda. It's more like what Don Juan said than he said. He's pretty funny in the books. Fumbling idiot. But so they call them the flyers, and they say we've got two minds. One was given to us, and this fits with Gnostic, and and it's here as well. You can see it. So they've both got their flyers, which when in form, usually they don't have a form that suits them, so there's always mutations that have to accommodate them, hence the hybridization for these other strange forms of consciousness that the Earth doesn't have a design to be incarnated into. I was trying to get in here. So anyway, that's the flyer. You can see they have wings. I'll see if I can dig out. I'll do another video after this one and show another example of this kind of thing. And that's why I do read Carlos Castaneda's work, because it does match up with, like, not just one or two other things. But anyway, back to this panel of this kind of oracle design, because it's designed around like sacred geometry and stuff like that. Actually, we're analysing the other one, won't we? Okay, so you also got like the markers. I think where that pyramid ends up is on the 12th. So you got the days, the months, and then from there to there I think it's about 29 or 28, 29 including the actual marker. So I think it's like 13 that way, and 29 or 12 and 28. So it's somewhere, I don't know, when there's always, like, when you look at little how many of things, it's always like representing sun cycles or days of the month. So they're combining time in these things, time mostly surrounding the sun. So they're suggesting that timed activation with Earth, movements, as well as in their own technological creations. So this panel seems to be moving in a direction of forward, and this one, even though this one's looking back this way, this one still moving there in that direction. Its horn is still there, because we see this, the two polar opposites, the head, and that's the tail of this one, and this one's facing that way, and that one's facing that way. So it's an interesting facing of directions, but the main, we see two one-way roads in time, moving that way, one moving that way. So we have a strange circle here, and these seem like they should, like, we have a totally, to me it looks like two different species. So we're looking at a hybridization of sorts. And it even looks like some strange creature coming out. So yeah, anyway, I don't want to go too into the fucking genetics of it. I just wanted to point out that there's other stuff going on in here, and I'm going to start to describe it more. Even like, here's another panel. It's the same panel, and I want to tell you there's different layers, and I'm not joking. I'll show you like where that point was, and I've done videos of how I said those spheres they find around the place to work out different angles, and you can see even in here There's a three-dimension. That's an interesting angle. You can see the tunnels. This is just from like looking into it and finding different alignments and highlighting what's already in there. So you have another grail thing moving through spirals. So we're looking at Earth portals. Pyramids and mountains we see on top aren't the only ones that were always there. Yeah, more in this box. And people realize, I heard it once described as like pharaohs kept their dirty laundry in it. That's another thing I wanted to cover. That's in the box. That will help describe what it is. So in the original, I was showing the arms of this strange shadowy being. The arms seem to be accentuated over here too. We see he's wearing some goth sleeve shirt, I don't know, but yeah. So the arms, we got it's a theme here. So we see like the arms in with the light, not just electricity, but there's a different realm of energy that we're more so interested in. There's two sides to that. Yeah, so the arms, I don't know, it's something that relates to an arc. How we see electricity moving between two kind of metal in the physical sense, and we also see it in Maya. These conjoined arms. So it relates to an individual in the plasma. These are shapes with plasma experiments, shapes that came out in the lab, and also they're comparing them to glyphs at certain timed occurrences that natives wanted to record. Timing, once again the time comes into it on the box. All things, it's molding all systems into it. Yeah, so there's something we're definitely going to go much more into. Hopefully I've laid out a few concepts here, and the box shows like I guess a progression in time as well. Shows how words, even from its culture, when you get right into it, use it as like an oracle of divination. It'll show you how words' origins, get warped or morphed out, and it's still able to use these abstract kind of future things, double meanings like we have here, double perspectives, and past and future meeting and all that stuff. It's one of those amazing artifacts, and this isn't the only one. I'm gonna get more into the symmetry of the ancients, and yeah, look at some other artifacts that hold mystical properties. Okay. Enjoy.